like it smelled like a candy cane.
Oh, I love candy canes. They're so delicious.
Me too.
They're just...
But 'tis not the season, 'tis apparently the chocolate season. Alrighty, so I suppose we should probably maybe actually do what we're here for, hey? You are listening to Rent Free in My Head, the podcast where we take the thoughts that are squatting in our brains and help set them up with residence in yours, free of charge.
You're welcome.
So giving. Each week, I question why I'm friends with Kirstyn as she devastates me with a true crime story.
I also question why I'm friends with Jeramie, as he just, ruins my life by telling me a mystery that isn't solved and keeps me awake.
That's the definition of a
But technically
mystery.
there's mysteries that are solved, Jeramie. Gosh.
Then they're no longer a mystery. And also, let's be real, I don't ruin your life by telling you a story. I ruin your life by being in it.
That's fair. That is... I was going to say, what's the opposite of highlight?
A low light? A low dark?
You are the low dark in my life.
I'm that creepy dark alley you don't want to walk down. Kirstyn, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Jeramie, for giving me permission.
You have my permission.
Oh, I feel so validated with your permission. This episode is going to be releasing the week of Anzac Day, correct?
Yes, 2 days after.
Okay, so because it was releasing the week of Anzac Day, I decided to do a case that involved the ands part, not the wait, I actually wrote this down. In honor of Anzac Day, which for our friends in South Korea, because that's where those random international friends are, aren't they?
No, we're popping off in the US all of a sudden too.
Oh, okay, well, hi South Korea, hi America. In case you didn't know, Anzac Day. Anzac stands for Australia, New Zealand Army Corps. And basically the day is just it's a national day of resemblance in both countries to commemorate all those who served and died in all wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping operations. So there's natural soldiers or Army Corps kids in my case. I just did something that related to Australia and New Zealand because I thought it would be kind of cool. And I didn't want to shit on people that were Anzacs because that's a fucking dick move.
Fair.
So, no disrespect to the Anzacs. Think they're great people. Just wanted to do something involving the Ans, which is Australia and New Zealand.
Thank you.
That's okay. But anyway, so our story begins on the 18th of May, 1859, in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia.
I've been there.
Where?
I built a
I
pathetic
haven't.
little snowman. It's really cute. There's a photo of it on Instagram.
It's very pathetic, though.
Yes, but so am I.
Twinsies. So, when Mary Ann Parkinson and her hubby, Alfred Bock, christened their lil Amy Maud. Amykins spent her early life in Australia, with the fam moving from Hobart to Sale, Victoria, which I just thought was kind of funny that there's literally a place called Sale, as in the sale of items.
Oh, like that thing that EB Games never has going on. And on the rare occasion that they do, they're really subtle about it.
Oh yeah, you never know when they're having a sale.
You
never know.
No.
Completely inconspicuous.
Wouldn't be able to pick it, honestly. It's like a total surprise. You just go to the counter and they're like, oh, we have a sale at the moment.
And you're just like, what? You have a sale? And you look around you and you don't see any posters. You don't see any bright red in your face.
Definitely not covering every single fucking surface in the entire shop. No.
Not at all.
They're not about that.
That would be weird. But anyway, so they moved from Hobart to Sale, Victoria, and then they moved on to Melbourne around 1874. So Mama Mary Ann died shortly after the move to Melbourne. She died, it doesn't really tell me how she died, but she died in quotes from the article that I read, they called it a lunatic asylum. But I just feel like that's a really dick way to say it, so I just wrote asylum.
Oh, so she was cuckoo crazy pants.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
She was cuckoo banana bread. Apparently, that Loki, what's that word? I don't want to say bled, but like bled onto Amy?
Passed?
Bled, yeah, passed.
She bled on her baby? That's not good.
Okay, no.
Not sanitary.
Mama Mary Ann passed on her cuckoo banana bread to her daughter, apparently, because like in like her early years when she was younger, she showed early signs of mental instability.
That's one family recipe you don't want handed down.
It gets better. Well, not really. It's not bad, but it's just interesting. So her dad was apparently very artistic. He was originally an artist, and then he later in life became a photographer, which is super cute. And he
Snap
would
that one up
always-
real quick.
You
Did
killed me.
that pun not click with you?
No! They both did. A little shit. I'm moving on. Because he was so artistic, he also encouraged his daughter to pursue and just in general encouraged her interest in amateur dramatics. So she had quite the dramatic flair, which I know you can relate to, Jeramie. She's no Emily, but, you know.
No, what is?
You know, she's a breed of her own. But despite, you know, having this apparent mental instability, she still got an education and she managed to score a job as a teacher in a town called, a region called Gippsland in Victoria. Didn't really care about that place. It sounded funny. That's where I'm going with it. So, life seemed pretty chill. However, in late 1884 or possibly 1885, the article was a bit hazy, after receiving a summons for requiring goods on a false credit, her daddy-o was like, hey bestie, you should move to Auckland, New Zealand, where he was now residing with his second wife. So Amy Kins is like, alright, bet, I'm headed over. So when she was in Auckland, she used her education background to get a job as a governess. But then within a few weeks of the employment, she had defrauded her employer. Obviously, she was caught and she appeared in court and she basically cried her eyes out and was like, I'm so sorry, I did it all, I'm such a bad person.
Oh, maybe she is
And
Emily
then
after all.
Literally.
Like
though.
maybe like
No, she's
Emily in a
kind of
past
shitty.
life?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. But, yeah, so she cried her eyes out, confessed to it, everything, and then the judge was like, oh, okay, you poor little Aussie, you can get let off. So he just let her off with nothing. And thus Amy's pattern began. She would find employment as either a cook, a housekeeper, companion, basically just like an in-house kind of kid who helped out.
Do you reckon it's because our accent makes us sound like dumb and slow? Like, do you think that's why he took
This was
pity
like the
on the poor
1800s
little
as well.
Australian girl?
Well, multiple judges take pity on the poor little Australian.
Oh, for sure then. It's because our accent makes us sound dumb and slow.
Yay?
Good to know that we've got that up our... We've got that skill up our sleeve.
In case we need it later on in life.
Keep that one under our hats.
But yeah, so she would find a job as like an in-house kind of helper vibe, whatever. And then she would essentially like charm her employer with like doing obviously good work, and just being like a charmer, like basically like he made them fall in love with her. And then
she really is an Emily then.
Except Emily doesn't do this next part. She would then obtain, and obtain is in quotation marks for everyone else, money through either selling the employer's property or creating a sub-story and being like, oh, my sister really needs money and I don't know what to do and I need to help her. Cry face.
Oh. So she did pick up on her father's artistic nature. She just happened to stick con in front of it.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. Yeah. Love that.
That's literally who this bitch is. I low-key love
I'm
her.
I'm here for women making their own business. Let them.
Literally though, she's a bit of a crackhead, but you
do what you gotta do in an economy.
Exactly. These were hard times, so she would like make little stories up. They would eventually give her money. Then she'd just fuck off. And she just didn't really seem to care about covering her tracks at all. So she was actually really easy to capture. And so she just went to court a bunch of times. And then she would just be like, woe is me. My mum was cuckoo banana bread. I was just a poor Australian girl. I beg God for forgiveness. Did I just do the crossing?
You just made a circle around your own head.
Making myself an angel. I just watched Charlie's Angels. That's what I'm thinking of. I think it's because I did it with my left hand. I got confused because I always do it with my right hand.
How often are you making the cross?
I don't know. Is it bad for non-Jesus people to do it?
I don't know. I take no part in religion.
Someone who's a Jesus person, can you please tell me? Like, don't get angry at me, but can you just tell me?
Can you maybe stop referring to them as a Jesus person? Last week you referred to a priest as her Jesus kid.
That's what he is, though. He's a Jesus kid. Oh my god, no. He's a Jesus daddy. I have full respect for you and your religion.
So anyway, we were talking about something. Oh yeah, she was like in court and she's like, oh, I'm so innocent, I beg to God. And then you can't do the cross.
So she would ask God for forgiveness and then the judge would be like, aw, poor little Australian. Okay. And then they would just let her off. But then, okay, so she did get charged like a bunch of fucking times. So I just kind of wrote out dot points at this point because my God, this bitch was in and out. So we have April 1886. She was charged with buying goods on credit in Christchurch and then just disappearing. She was sentenced to 1 month of hard labour at Addington Gaol. That's how you say that one, isn't it? The G one?
I thought it was still said jail, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well then jail.
But it's just like spelled differently. I don't know.
I know there is a difference between the G1 and the J1, but like I don't... Who the fuck cares? Either way, she went to jail. She gets out. She does more shit. So then in July 1887, she's charged with fraud and she's sentenced to 6 months detention at Why did I write this so shittily? Caversham Industrial School, Dunedin. She actually impressed the superintendent.
Dunedin.
What?
Isn't it Dunedin?
It's D-U-N. Dunedin.
D-U-N-E-D-I-N. I thought it was Dunedin.
Dunedin. Man, I don't fucking know.
I don't know either. Now you're making me question everything.
Well, I thought it was a simple phonetic word that I wouldn't have to Google the pronunciation for.
Hang on. I got you, fam. Why did I think that I could record with my phone in the other room? Yeah, it's Dunedin.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Sentenced to 6 months detention at Caversham Industrial School in Dunedin. It was there that she apparently impressed the superintendent. Soup's great. And he was like, oh my God, bestie, I'm going to give you a job as a teacher. She was like, 6, mate. Sick. So she was still...
I was going to say she was 6 and they offered her a job?
No.
Damn.
No, it was sick. So she was still technically, like, in prison or, like, in detention, but she got to, like, work as a teacher.
In the prison or at a school?
In the prison. So it was it was an industrial school that she was imprisoned at.
So she's not, like, teaching children.
It wasn't super clear, I'm not going to lie to you. I think maybe it was like a detention school for shitty people. So she was giving education to other shitty people that lacked education.
So it's the blind leading the blind. Cool. Love that.
Well, I mean, she's smart.
Yes, but, like,
really
it's a shitty person. It's a shitty person teaching other shitty people. That's
okay, fine.
not ideal.
Anyway, they got really cranky at her because they found out that she was trying to escape by pretending that some loving aunt needed her. And then they figured out that she was the loving aunt sending the letters.
What does she think this is, Germany?
She's not the brightest when it comes to, like, covering her tracks. So she did eventually leave in 1888. And then by April 1888, she was charged with obtaining goods on a false credit and sentenced to 2 months imprisonment. By mid-1890, she had pawned her employer's furniture and she was sentenced to 3 years hard labour imprisonment, which is actually, like, the worst kind of imprisonment for that time.
How much money did she get for the furniture, though?
It doesn't say.
Oh. I want the important details.
I know. So spam. Oh my god. In October 1892, she emerged from prison, so she got out a year early on good behaviour. From prison with $1. No, my god, it's not $1. £1.95. Is that? Which today is $2.86. So I assume back then it was like a decent amount of money. Not like decent, but it was like, I don't know, like $20.
Did you do the inflation calculator?
I tried, but as you just said, Australians are pretty dumb, so...
New Zealand.
No, it's euro. It had like a little
what?
euros. It has a euro thing. That's what confused me. Because we used dollars and
No, we were using the pound up until like a certain point. Okay. New Zealand pound inflation.
1892, pound 95.
1892, you said, didn't you?
Yep, 1892.
Okay. 195. Yeah, so £1.95 in 1892, that is definitely the pound symbol.
Yeah, it's
would have cost
eating, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pound, not euro. Euro's different. But yeah, in £1 in and 95, I don't know, shillings or whatever, monies. 1.95 of that type of money in 1892 would be the equivalent of $430.21 today. And that's in New Zealand dollars.
Damn,
I don't know
son.
the difference between that and Australian dollars.
Alright, fuck me.
This is why I like playing with the inflation calculator, because you're like, oh, it just sounds like a tiny little bit of money. And then you're like, hot damn.
Okay, yeah, shit. Next time I actually will pay attention to that.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Okay, so bitch came out of prison with like $400.
Damn.
Like, damn. But wait, if that's $1.95, sorry, £1.95 is like $400. What would a pound by itself be? Like 200, basically, wouldn't it?
Probably somewhere around 215, yeah.
Because
I'm just gonna half that number.
She gets out of prison, right, with the like $400 in her pocket, and then she spends some to get onto a train to Timaru, and then she fraudulently attains £1, which would be like $200.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, so she does that. Then In 1893, she sells her landlady's watch. Kind of a dick move. And she gets a 6-month sentence for that. And then in 1895, she is charged with leaving a house owing board and lodging, and she serves 3 months. Then she kind of disappears from official notice for several years.
Can you imagine how great it would be, though, if, like, a week's rent was just, like, £1 or $1? Like,
I know, right?
it's a fucking dream.
My rent
That's
goes
the
up.
scary thing about the inflation calculator, though, is that it really brings to light just how expensive the cost of living is.
What are you talking about? Us
If you
millennials and
Look.
zillennials have it so fucking easy.
If renters can't afford to pay rent, they should just buy a house. It's that
Of course,
simple.
Jeramie, just buy a house. What are you
Just
thinking?
don't be poor.
Just buy a house. Just pull money out of your asshole and buy a house.
It's that simple.
Fuck me, he's so stupid. Anyway, moving on. Thinking about that man makes me mad. Okay. So apparently during these years of her just kind of disappearing and deciding not to get charged for anything, she spent some time in the Magdalen Asylum for, and I quote, fallen women.
Help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
I was like, really? Fallen women. That's how we're gonna word that. Fallen women. Pause for 2 seconds. I'm getting a phone call.
Okay.
Yes, Cindy, I will do a shout out at the end of the episode to you, okay? Okay. Bye. Fuck's sake. She literally called me to ask if I owned Doc Martens because she's having an argument with my mum because my mum was like, Kirstyn owns Doc Martens. And Cindy's like, Kirstyn's as broke as I am. Fuck off, does that bitch own Doc Martens? So, just family things. So, a fallen woman is an archaic term which was used to describe a woman who has lost her innocence and fallen from the grace of God.
Sorry, just on the note of that phone call from your sister, that's real interesting because my whole case is about how controlling and overpowering a sister can be.
Yep, shout out to Cindy.
There you go, there's her shout out.
She's gonna be so mad. I love it. So yeah. Basically just like a stupid thing. It basically misogynist bullshit that shouldn't have existed, because men control everything and men are trash. So anyway,
As a man, I'm not going to argue with you on that one because you're not fucking wrong.
I didn't think you would.
Yeah.
Because they are. But, so, by 1902, she reappeared, and she now went by Molly or Mary Shannon. And what?
Molly Shannon, that's an actress. I fucking love her.
Oh, really? Who?
Yeah, she's like hilarious and everything. I can't describe who she is, but you would know her if you saw her. She is in everything. She's a comedian actress.
Molly Shannon. Oh my god, I love that bitch!
Right?
Yes! She's so fucking funny. Oh my god.
Oh, she's amazing. Love her.
Oh my god, yes. But back to this bitch who's not Molly Shannon. She just pretended to be Molly Shannon. So she somehow manages to finance someone, well, get someone to finance her so that she can buy a fucking poultry farm? Like, what the fuck?
What? I don't even want to know what foul acts she had to do to make that happen.
Fuck it. Oh, you little shit. Fuck's sake.
You were like, oh, yeah, I get it. And then you ended up with egg on your face.
No. Nope. I'm just gonna go past it. I'm going past.
You don't want to play a game of chicken with me?
No, because I will lose.
Yeah, literally.
I'm not good at this. So.
These puns are ready for the harvest, like.
Seriously. I don't know. Your brain just... But anyway. So...
It's my only skill. That and ruining lives.
Solid skill set. So... That stint cost her 2 years imprisonment in March of 1903. By February 1905, she was going by the name of Amy Chanel, and she was charged with altering a check, and she was given a 3-year sentence. So, my God, this bitch gets charged so many times.
Does she ever fucking learn her lesson?
No, not really. So...
See, she shouldn't have been teaching then. If she's not prepared to learn her lesson, how's she supposed to teach a lesson?
Because there's different lessons to teach and learn. Bitch.
Well, she was in the wrong classroom.
That's very true. But anyway, we're now in June 1907. She was released from prison and just decided to not be a dick for a whole year. Then, in 1908...
New year, new me.
She returned to... Wait, what's that word again? Denuded? Dunedin.
Dunedin.
There we go.
Dunedin.
I'm not good at words!
She returned to Dunedin, streaked down the street.
Okay. Anyway, 1908, she returned to... Fuck me. Dunedin. Where she posed as Agnes Valance. And she again pawned her employer's furniture and went to ground after delaying pursuit by creating a complex scenario through letters from Miss Valance's concerned friend, Charlotte Skevington. What a name. So, this is where it gets a little bit fun and a little bit interesting.
A little bit fun, a little bit interesting.
Yes, Queen. So, she decides what is the perfect disguise in the early 1900s other than a man.
I was going to say, is it a man?
It is. So, she found the perfect
I've always
disguise.
wanted to be one of those.
Why? Because you get
Because
free
they run the
benefits.
world.
Literally,
That's
though.
literally.
Also, I just feel like I'd look really hot as
Everyone
a dude.
treats you better when you're a man.
Pretty rude.
But like the right kind of man, you have to be like
White.
cis,
Cis.
white, straight, wealthy,
So nothing that either of us
left
are.
leaning. Right leaning? I don't know what the difference. I don't
Oh my
know which
God,
one is.
neither. I literally
correct.
had to Google the other day which one I was.
I just know my views and where I stand. I mean, the left side of my face is the good side, so I guess I'm a leftist. That's how that works, right? I
For
tend to
sure.
stand to the left of people so that when it comes time for photos, I can just turn my head and you see the left side.
That's cute. That's smart.
Yeah. That's how political stances work, right?
But anyway, so where am I? This bitch. Okay, so she creates wealthy sheep farmer Percival Leonard Carroll Redwood. Don't know why she felt the need to
What a name, though.
Right? He needed 4 fucking names. More commonly known as
Well,
Percy
yes, because
Redwood.
but the more names you have, the more sophisticated.
My mum has
Here's
4 names.
Percy-
I don't.
What was it? Percival Leonard
Carol Redwood.
Carroll Redwood.
At your service,
Okay.
darling.
Everyone loves some redwood.
Okay. So, he, as Percy... Oh, shit, I just realised what you fucking said.
He sounds like he'd be good friends with Cecil Chubb.
Stop!
Cecil Chubb,
I can't.
the owner of Stonehenge.
No. No. I can't believe he gave it back. Fuck that. I would keep that shit.
Yeah, you
I'm
would.
kind of a horrible person, so that's probably why.
You wouldn't mow it yourself, though.
Oh, right. Fuck that, I'd hire people to do it.
Yeah, apparently...
Also, how many fucking people can say, yo, I own Stonehenge?
Apparently you would specifically only hire cute old men to do it because you're, I don't know, misogynist, ageist, and luxist. Luxist?
Okay, look.
Shallow, that's the word I'm looking for.
I'm gonna go with it. I get what you mean. I fucking hate old people. I just do, okay?
That's a hot take.
Anyway, what are we up to? Alright, so good old Percy decided to holiday at Port, I'm going to say this wrong, Melano, I'm just going to roll with it, on the South Otago coast, staying at the Albion House boarding establishment. So he decided to court the landlady's daughter, Agnes Otway. And within a few weeks, they were engaged.
Ooh la la.
So Amy managed to maintain the appearance of wealth by a succession of deceptions involving letters to lawyers, postal orders, and small personal loans. These were not detected until after the elaborate wedding, which took place at the bride's home on April 21st, 1909.
So did
4
she do
days
it like,
later.
was she like in full drag at the wedding or something? Like,
yeah, so they fully thought that she was a chick. Hold on a sec. Let me
dude,
see if I
they
still
thought
have
she
the
was a dude.
photos. Oh, yeah, sorry. They thought that she was a dude. Let me find the photos and I will send them to you.
All right.
This was taken... I don't have any photos of her at the wedding, but I do have a photo of her in 1914. So this was after this all went down. But she low-key does look like a dude.
Damn.
Right?
Okay.
Right. Like, she fits it.
Also, I just realized the temperature looking at that and I'm triggered.
Temperature?
It's 22 degrees.
Oh, just a warm summer's evening. Okay, so 4 days after the wedding, Bock was arrested at the Otterways boarding house. She was convicted in the mother trucker. What is that word?
Dunedin.
Thank you. She was convicted in the Dunedin Supreme Court on 27th of May on 2 counts of false pretenses and 1 count of forgery and was finally declared a habitual criminal. Fucking only took like 10 bloody years. Actually, over 10 years.
Habitual emphasis on the bitch.
I love it so much. But just to remind you,
she puts the bitch in habitual.
1909. Bitch started in 1886. Like, that's when she started getting, like, charged and shit. And they only decided in 1909.
What number years is that? I'm not doing the math.
I'm literally doing the math right now because I forgot to. 23 years. 23 fucking years.
Damn.
It took before she was declared a habitual criminal. Also, the marriage was, like, fully annulled on the 17th of June, 1909. Also, when it was, like, put in the paper, there's this cute little... Oh, let me see if I can...
Did they consummate the marriage?
Well, maybe that's when she figured out that she was a she.
Dude is a lady.
You know, when she was like, oh, yes, daddy. And then she was like, oh, mommy?
I don't know. I don't know what sex ed was like back then. Maybe...
Probably not very good, let's be honest.
Maybe Homegirl literally thought that dudes also had the same situation going on down there and they just, like, scissored it out.
The picture I just sent you is a caricature. That's not how you say it, but I'm rolling with it. Of, Amy. And it's kind of funny.
I like the caricature.
They call her the female bridegroom. So, after her release from New Plymouth Jail...
From where, sorry? From where?
Jail.
No. But name the suburb that for the record, is where my father was born. So please say that again
Fucking
incorrectly.
Christ. It's wrong, isn't it?
It's New Plymouth.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I read things phonetically, okay? New Plymouth.
Thank you. I heard that. And I'm
After
sitting there
her release
I'm like,
from...
Hang on.
Oh, hello, I just fully knocked that. Okay. After her release from New Plymouth
Thank you.
jail on probation in 1911, Amykins worked for 2 years at the New Plymouth Old People's Home before moving to... Fuck me, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly. Macau. It's M-O with a little accent. K-A-U. I'm assuming it's a Maori name, but I don't...
Yeah, I don't know that one.
I don't know how to pronounce Maori stuff, so I'm really sorry. Where she is said to have organised many entertainments and plays and was the life of the district. So she does end up marrying as herself to a dude. On the 16th of November 1914, she married Charles Edward Christopherson, a farmer and native of Sweden. But they parted within a year because Amy was batshit crazy and she had so many fucking debts because she just kept stealing from people. In February 1917, she appeared before the New Plymouth Magistrates Court and was fined $20 for theft, which, if you think about inflation, is probably a fuck ton of money.
Do we want to find out?
Death? Yes, let's find out.
Okay.
What is it? It's not $20, it's 20 euros.
20 pounds?
No, for 20 pounds. Fuck. 20 pounds.
All right. So what year?
1917.
All right. So 20... Holy!
Oh my god, it's a lot.
20 pounds in 1917 was the equivalent of $2,856.85 NZ dollars in 2021.
Damn.
That's a hefty fine. I'd rather just be fined the $20, thanks. You can take the 20. We'll call it even.
You know what's funny though is it didn't stop her. Because she moved to Hamilton, and then in 1931, she appeared before the police court and was remanded to the Supreme Court in Auckland to face 5 charges of obtaining money by false pretenses. She made her final court appearance in Auckland on the 28th of October and was sentenced to 2 years probation on the condition that she live at the Salvation Army home. Oh, excuse me.
Well, this is awkward.
A court reporter described her as a faded old lady in a dove grey alpaca cloth costume with a drooping hat of lace straw and grey gloves, and supporting herself on a walking stick.
But what
She
fabric
died
were
at
the gloves
Bombay.
made out of?
Oh, it doesn't tell me. Apparently that's not helpful. Every other fucking part of her outfit is helpful. But
I
not
need
gloves.
the important details. God.
They're grey, Jeramie. That's the only detail he gave me.
But like, what shade of grey? Are we talking
Just
like a
grey.
charcoal, like a slate, like maybe like a
I
real
love
like
charcoal grey. It's so
pastel
pretty.
grey? Oh, I do love charcoal. Slate is a nice color
Just
too.
grey.
Were they like 50 Shades of Grey?
Anyway. Oof. Kirstyn Grey.
We already know she's into
She
roleplay,
died.
so
She died at Bombay, south of Auckland, 12 years later on the 29th of August, 1943, and was buried in the Pukikeho Cemetery. I'm so sorry if I pronounce that wrong. It's another Maori name, and I can't. I'm so sorry. I forgot to fucking look up all the the pronunciations of these. Because I was like, oh, I've got a few Maori names in my fucking story. I'm going to need to look up how to pronounce them.
it's fair.
Yeah, I didn't do that. So all in all,
that
this
tracks.
little crackhead bitch, she got convicted multiple times. Didn't really seem to stop her. And continued to do shit almost her entire fucking life. But her
Cool.
most, famousy kind of one is probably the fact that she convinced some bitch to marry her when she had a vagina. And this was the 1900s. So wait, why would they even need to get that annulled? Because the marriage would be null and void anyway because the two women weren't allowed to marry.
But she signed the marriage certificate as a man.
As Percy, that's right. But anyway, that's my case. Did you notice
And
that
I
I didn't
suppose
have any murder this week?
I did. Good job. I
Don't
like
worry, we'll go
that.
back to murder next
Look
week.
at you stepping out, looking at different crime.
Yeah, we'll probably back at murder next week, let's be honest.
Probably.
That was the case of Amy Percival.
I
Her
love
name's
the
actually
things that
Amy
you're
or-
finding. Like,
So random.
I do love the things that you're finding on these random dives into history, though, because like, never heard some of these things. It is.
No, literally though.
It is also interesting when you tell me the ones that I have heard of before, especially when halfway through I'm like, wait, I know this. Oh my god.
Wait a minute.
These ones that I've never heard of before that are just such wild cards. That's
why I
love
chose
it.
this one because it was so random. Because I googled, I wanted to do like a New Zealand crime.
Yeah.
And I googled New Zealand crimes, and there's this page. It's a New Zealand government page, and it like lists all these like kind of famous crimes and whatever. And I was like reading through them, and I'd opened up a couple of tabs, and then I stumbled upon this one, and I was like, I low-key want to do it because this bitch is just literally like, fuck everyone. I'm gonna keep stealing from you, and I'm gonna pretend to be a dude. And get some chick to marry me. I do kind of feel bad for the chick that he, like, conned in to marry him. Huh. Them? Her.
Yeah, I suppose technically her pronouns would still be her. Because she didn't really identify as...
Well, she identified as Percival.
While she was Percival...
She was a dude.
Then
So she was
it was a he.
Well, then he conned Agnes into marrying him because he was really a her, and Agnes didn't want a her.
But the question is that really the way that they identified, or was it just a con? Because if it's just a con, then it's a whole different situation in regards to an identity. I don't know.
True.
This is probably not a discussion that either you or I are qualified to be having.
No, considering we're both cisgendered.
Yes.
Oh, I see a bit of fabric near me. I'll just use that.
The joys of being a crafter.
Yeah, the entire fucking room is full of random fabrics and shit.
There's always a cum rag at hand. Sometimes it creates fancy patterns on the fabric for you to use later.
Oh my god.
Instead of tie-dye, it's guy-dye.
God, I'm fucking crying. Oh. We are professionals.
Yeah. That's definitely a word I would use to describe us.
Okay, but is your mystery this week super, super bad? Funny? A little bit bad? Or just like...
So, what's the term that you were using for bonkers, your whole case? Cuckoo banana bread?
Yeah, cuckoo banana bread.
Okay, because I originally said cuckoo crazy pants, and then you just took it and stuck banana bread in there, and I'm like, okay.
Sorry, I think I got it off Barbie.
Okay.
I think she says something about cuckoo banana bread or something like that, so I started saying cuckoo banana bread. And then when you said cuckoo crazy pants, I was like, cuckoo banana bread!
Okay, but who is Barbie?
Barbie!
As in, the doll Barbie?
Yes, Barbie!
I've never heard Barbie speak. Do dolls often talk to you, Kirstyn?
She has a show! Barbie Roberts. Barbie Roberts in the Dream House? It's on Netflix.
Do I look like someone who frequently watches Barbie shows?
I've watched it.
You are a grown-ass woman.
Before you judge me, Barbie is my comfort character.
I am hardcore judging you always.
You know what?
There is
I
no
don't
such thing
care.
as before I judge you.
Barbie is my comfort. She's my comfort character. She's my comfort watch. When I'm sad or when I'm sick, I will go put on a Barbie movie.
Do you know what
Because it makes me feel better.
Do you know what my comfort go-to always is?
What?
And you can there is no way it can ever do you wrong. Steven Universe.
I don't think I've ever watched it.
You clean out your dirty, disgusting whore mouth now.
You haven't watched Barbie, bro. Barbie is iconic.
Barbie's a fucking bitch.
Barbie is not a bitch. She's such a good person.
Name one good thing she's done. Steven saved not only Beach City and the world, he saved the universe and all the gems in it.
Okay, cool fucking story. Barbie constantly helps her friends, and they learn from their mistakes, and they become better friends, and they learn life lessons almost every episode.
Okay, it kind of sounds like Barbie and Steven Universe are the same show, because the whole premise of Steven Universe is all about loving yourself for what makes you different and loving others for what makes them different. And
it literally is then. That's very similar to Barbie.
Speaking of wholesome as fuck, Sunshine. We love her. She's amazing. She's a literal ray of sunshine. That's why we call her that.
Literally.
So, last year for Sunshine's birthday, we organised a big picnic as a surprise for her. And while we were all hanging out and eating, she's just sitting there and she's like, Jeramie, tell me a story. And I'm like, a story? What kind of story? And she's like, I don't know. Do you have a good story for me? And I was like, you know what? I fucking do. Oh, I have a real good one for you. So I had recently heard this specific case at the time, that didn't make no sense. I had recently heard about this specific case, and at that point in time, it was like all I could think about. So I was like, oh, homie, I have the story for you. Let's go. And Reese and Tie-Dye had both already heard it, and they were like, is it what we think it is? And I'm like, oh yeah, it is. And they were like, oh girl, strap yourself in. She's a doozy. Ooh. So I then proceeded to spend like the next hour just sitting there, eating fairy bread, blowing her fucking mind with this tale. And from the day that I first mentioned to her that we were starting a podcast and that I would be talking about mysteries, she has repeatedly asked me at least twice a week, when are you going to cover that case? Are you going to be covering that one? When will you be doing that one? And last week, both her and Tie-Dye asked me about it within a few minutes of each other. So I was like, okay, get the fuck off my back.
We're fucking doing it.
I need to do Stonehenge first because I need to know about these fucking rocks. But then I was like, I tell you what, I'll do it next week. So this week I will be telling you that same story. And this one is dedicated to both Tie-Dye and Sunshine, even though they're both abandoning me. But we won't go into that. We'll just leave that trauma in the back shelves where it doesn't need to be touched. So this week we will be staying in the UK, but we will be heading over to Wales this time.
England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, inside, outside, inside, on.
Sure. We will be heading to Wales.
That game when you were younger?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a jumping game. You have like a bit of elastic. There's 3 people. 2 people stand facing each other like a meter apart, and they have elastic around their ankles, or like higher up. And then you go Inside, outside, inside, on. No, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Inside, outside, inside, on. I think there's more to it, but that's all I remember.
You lost me at jumping. That requires cardio, which is a major no. So we're going to Wales, to a town called Haverfordwest. But first, naturally, some fun facts about Wales.
Yeah.
So apparently, the corgi, you know, those super adorable dogs.
Queen's dogs.
Oh, they actually originate from Wales. As does the equals sign, which was invented by a Welsh mathematician. So, thanks for that, I guess.
Good work, bestie.
And it's up for debate, but from what I've read, it's quite likely possibly even the patron saint of Ireland, Saint Patrick. He's believed to have actually been a Welshman. I'm just going with what the interwebs said. It's speculated that he was born in Wales. And then, like, the rest of his life was, I don't know, the things that he did that made him a saint happened in Ireland. I don't fucking know. That was the extent of what I looked into it. It was like, apparently St. Patrick might have been born there. I'm like, wait, what? And I looked at like 3 different things that said the same thing. So I'm like, okay, bet. I'm gonna take it. Whatever. Go off, sis. So I'm not entirely sure what to class this one as, but it's definitely a mystery, because I told it to Mateo earlier today, and he just sat there and stared at me and was baffled. So we'll just stick with mystery, I guess. Today I am going to be telling you the tale of June and Jennifer Gibbons, aka the Silent Twins.
Wait a minute. No, keep going.
I have mentioned them in the past to you, but in passing.
Okay.
There is some crime here, but it's not really the main focus of the story. It is also worth noting that, funnily enough, in a story called The Silent Twins, I have a lot of quotes. Don't question it. It will make sense eventually. Just go with it. So, identical twins June and Jennifer were born in April of 1963 to parents Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons. The couple had immigrated to the United Kingdom from Barbados with the twins' older siblings David and Greta a couple years prior, as Aubrey worked as a technician for the Royal Air Force. They did also have a younger sister, Rosie, so not only were they identical twins, they were also middle children, so ouch.
Great.
Love that for them. Because of Aubrey's job, the family relocated a lot, but in 1974, when the twins were 11, the Gibbons family took up residence in Haverfordwest, Wales. At the time, they were the only black family in a very white area, so unfortunately, all of the Gibbons children were outcast and teased because of the colour of their skin. But
white people suck.
That we do. But the twins especially so. Their behaviour and odd reputation leading to further harassment so bad that the school took to letting the twins leave class 5 minutes early in the hopes they could sneak out and avoid it. Because, you know, that makes more sense than dealing with the bullies.
Of course, Jeramie.
That's just crazy talk. So, growing up, the girls were late to speak, and then when they did start to speak, they both had the same speech impediment, which made them kind of muffled and hard to hear. When asked about this in later years, June is quoted as stating that they found it frustrating having to repeat themselves. We didn't speak and left it. You can't hear us now, you can't hear us ever. That's not to say that they stopped speaking altogether. They just... So, they still spoke to each other in their own secret little language, but...
Twin speak.
Yeah, kind of. But by age 11, they no longer spoke to anyone else.
Fair.
They had begun to mirror one another and had taken to moving and walking slowly and as in unison as possible.
Creepy.
Yeah, so like they would be moving slowly enough that the other could mimic them, and I've actually seen a video of the two of them sitting at a table eating mashed potato, and it's so slow, but like you can see the mirroring of each other's movements. It's fucking creepy. They were not only dependent on one another and physically inseparable, it also appears that they struggled to separate their identities from one another as well. One day she'd wake up and be me, and one day I would wake up and be her. And we used to say to each other, "Give me back myself. If you give me back myself, I'll give you back yourself."
What the fuck?
Yeah. So,
That's... What?
we are at age 11 to 13, and there's already a lot to unpack here. In 1976, John Reese, a school medical officer, was at the school administering vaccinations. He describes an endless parade of white arms extended before him, when suddenly he is met by a small black arm. He looks up to make a joke to prepare the girl for the jab and notices she appears to be in a trance, almost doll-like, just staring vacantly ahead, completely non-responsive, and doesn't even acknowledge the prick of the jab at all. Shortly after, he was met by another girl, not only with the same face, but the same trance-like state, completely unresponsive. Naturally, he thought this was odd, and raised it to the headmaster, who just dismissed it and brushed it off. The girls can't be that troubled. By that, he meant they weren't trouble, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Let me guess.
So we're white.
Precisely. It's not worth dealing with. Love that. So, Reese wasn't happy with this, and he then referred the case to a child psychiatrist, who in turn referred them to a speech therapist, Anne Trahan, whom they began treatment with in 1977. They would barely speak to Anne, or even to each other in her presence, but they did agree to read aloud on tape if she left the room. So, listening back to the recordings and slowing them down, Anne was able to determine that their secret language was actually just a combination of English and Barbadian slang, spoken very rapidly and with emphasis put on unexpected syllables. It also didn't help that their speech impediment kind of fed into it as well. So I think I've heard I've heard the speech impediment, and it is very difficult to understand what is being said. It does have a very muffled sound to it. The sounds have been replaced with a sh. I can understand why they were frustrated that no one could understand them when they were speaking, and why they gave up altogether. I can also understand how that kind of fed into the secret language too. But yeah, so basically the secret language wasn't so secret after all. It was literally just sped up English with some Barbadian slang peppered in, and they were emphasizing the syllables that you wouldn't expect them to. That was me trying to emphasize unexpected syllables. I don't pay attention to what syllables I emphasize, so it was difficult.
No, that's fair.
And
I see what you're trying to do there.
Yeah. So Anne also sensed that June did actually want to speak to her, but that Jennifer, who appeared to be more dominant and was controlling June's actions, stopped her from doing so simply with a look or eye signals. It is worth noting that Jennifer was the younger twin.
Oh.
So it's the same thing that we saw with the Papin sisters, where Kirstyn was the more dominant and controlling, and she was the youngest. These two are twins,
Leah was...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Leah and Kirstyn were so close, like...
Yeah, they weren't that far apart, yeah. And they were that close as they grew up that they might as well have been... Well, they were that close as they grew up that they were... Oh,
a little bit salmon on the side.
They took it further than twins. These two don't.
Thank God. No twincest in this story.
The decision was made to move the girls to Eastgate, a special education centre. However, they did not seem to improve or fare any better there. Eventually, the decision was made to separate the girls. They believed that without the influence of one another, they may find their own identity and be able to develop distinct personalities separate from the other. This was not the first instance of twins behaving like this, and around about the same time, this method had worked to properly socialize another pair of twins. It's worth noting that that pair of twins were white, and it was identified and addressed when they were younger. So they were separated and socialized as children, not as teenagers.
Right.
So yes, it worked in that case.
Bloody white people.
So this is where I initially found some differing information. In the BBC documentary that I watched last night, their special needs teacher, Kathy Arthur, stated that it was essentially the girls' idea and that both had separately written her letters stating their wish to be separated. And excerpts from both girls' letters were also cited. But then other sources that I read and listened to said that they did not react well to the news that they were being separated. So I was kind of confused at first, but then I found a brilliant New Yorker article, We Too Made One, which I think actually explains that disconnect, and I'm going to quote a paragraph from it. The task of telling the girls about the plan fell to Thomas. Thomas was the surname of one of the psychiatrists at this school, just to clarify. I don't think I mentioned him prior.
You solidly didn't, but that's okay. I'm with it now.
Although the twins had toyed with the idea of separation before, sometimes writing notes asking for one of them to be sent to Barbados, one to America, the reality of it terrified them. Within moments, they were screaming and hitting each other. Jennifer dug her nails into June's cheek. June pulled a chunk of hair out of Jennifer's head. They chased each other out of Thomas's office, shrieking, and had to be forcibly parted. So, yeah, it sounds like initially the idea was theirs, but once they got hit with the reality of the idea, they were like, no, fam.
Fuck no.
Abandon ship, abort, not on board.
We were just joking, guys.
It was just a joke. Like, calm down. All of a sudden, the girls began to talk. Well, to a degree. They wouldn't speak at school or to their family, but they would suddenly regularly telephone staff from Eastgate and beg to stay together, promising to speak if they weren't separated, claiming, everything will be okay, we'll talk tomorrow, you'll see. But then tomorrow came and they never did. The next day, it was as if the conversation never happened. So, in 1978, the separation occurred, and It was disastrous.
Shocking.
Both twins withdrew further into themselves and became practically catatonic, especially June. She fell into such a state of despair that she sat in a trance with tears and mucus running down her face, completely unresponsive, unacknowledging, not acknowledging the ick of it all.
Ew.
Yeah. At one point, it reportedly took 2 people to remove her from her bed as she was as stiff and as heavy as a corpse. And then once they did, they just kind of propped her up against a wall because what else were they going to do with her?
Stop. I'm so sorry. B, stop. Settle down.
Just run her over with your chair.
Ha 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 ha.
So June was sent back to Eastgate to be reunited with her sister. And in 1979, at age 16, both girls left school permanently and locked themselves in their bedroom, leaving only to collect the doll.
To collect the what?
The doll.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not just here that calls welfare or unemployment the doll. It must be a British term too, because yeah, I heard it in a documentary leading into them talking about them playing with dolls, so I thought that they meant playing with dolls, but then I saw it in a written article as well, and it was spelled DOLE, and I'm like, oh no, they're actually talking about unemployment. So
that makes more sense.
They would only ever leave their bedroom to collect the doll. So once a week, they would leave, go and sign and collect their doll checks, and then come home.
Mood.
So by this point, they were speaking to only their youngest sister, Rosie, who shared a room with them. But once she changed bedrooms, they ceased speaking to her as well. And they would not leave their bedroom even for meals and would only communicate with the family via letter. So if, say, they wanted to watch a TV program that night, they would write a letter being like, hello, we would like to watch this program at this time tonight. Can you please leave the living room door open? So that they could watch it from the top of the stairs or whatever. And the family just obliged.
Okay.
They just decided, this is perfectly acceptable behaviour. It's not an issue.
For sure, normal.
Yep. So, in this period of time when they had locked themselves in their bedroom, they let their imaginations roam free and basically created an elaborate world for their dolls, rivaling even the most convoluted soap opera. They observed the outside world via binoculars and, while they wouldn't interact with their own family, sought out pen pals around the world. Because they were lonely.
Sure, fam.
That Christmas, they were each given a leather-bound diary with a lock, which they took to writing in incessantly, treating their journal entries as literary works, writing a first draft, which they then revised to the final version. And that is why I have so many quotes to offer you, because they wrote so fucking much into their journals. Like, oh, wait until you hear how many fucking journals there were.
God.
So, through this, they found a love for writing, and they pooled their money together and registered, as one student, might I add, for a creative writing correspondence course. And so it was like a course where they would send you books, you do your writing, you send them back, and they send it back to you with like grading or whatever. That's my assumption, because it's via correspondence. So yeah, they wouldn't have been via like email because digital letters didn't exist back then. It was the 70s.
Electronic mail. You have the opportunity to say electronic mail and you never do. You say digital letters.
Yes. I also say potato and fire police. What's your point? Just
Email. Electronic mail.
at what point in time did digital letters begin to exist? Did they have digital letters in the 70s?
I don't fucking
When
know.
did the internet come? When did the internet come to be?
Like the 90s. Wasn't it? Or like 2000, the thousands? The noughties?
I feel like we had internet before that.
I don't fucking know. All I know is that I'm older than Google, so...
Same! Well, fair, because I'm
Of course
older
you're
than you.
older than Google. You're older than me.
Anyway. So, they signed up for this creative writing correspondence course, and they both began to write furiously, with the hopes of becoming famous authors. They both penned some books very quickly. Of note being June's book, The Pepsi-Cola Addict, which she did actually get published, and Jennifer's book, Disco Mania.
Okay.
So, I don't have a vocab lesson for you this week, but I do have a fun guessing game.
Oh, God.
Based off of the title, what do you think The Pepsi-Cola Addict is about?
Someone who's addicted to Pepsi Cola.
That's your guess?
Is it...
I don't know. Write a story for me that you think would be titled that. Give me the summary. We saw how you did with your Arthurian erotica, so...
Okay. Oh, hello.
That was a peep show I wasn't expecting.
Okay, so... The Pepsi Cola Addict begins the story of Annabelle Cola, the heiress to the Pepsi Cola fortune. But what her father doesn't know is that she is addicted to it, the cocaine that's in the Pepsi Cola.
I thought you were going to say that she was in love with the heir to the Coca-Cola factory.
I thought about it, but then I decided to go with her being an addict to the cocaine that was in the Pepsi Cola. And she got her source from the heir to the Coca-Cola.
All right, and what do you think Disco Mania is about?
Disco Mania is about... All I can imagine is Scooby-Doo in the Scooby-Doo movie. Disco happens.
I'm just picturing, like, Xanadu,
Oh my god.
but with Scooby-Doo.
He does that move.
Yeah, so
It's-
Xanadu, but D-O-O, because Scooby-Doo
Literally.
is
Okay,
there.
so basically, Disco Mania is about Scooby-Doo. No, it's not actually about Scooby-Doo, okay. Disco Mania... I dropped you, Scooby. Disco Mania is about...
Is that why you were picturing Scooby-Doo, because you're doing a Scooby?
Yep, there you go. You caught me. Right. I just kicked something. Ah! Okay. Okay. Disco Mania is about Frank and his inability to stop discoing. Every day, 24/7. Man is obsessed and it's tearing his family apart.
Oh. Okay. Just putting this out
I'm
there.
correct in both of them.
So close. So very, very close. Just putting this out there, though. It sounds like your Arthurian erotica novel was like a one-hit wonder.
Wow. I can't believe you would say that.
Is B okay?
I don't know. It's just... What do you want, child? Do you want to sit on my lap? Is that it? There you go. Get up here and calm down. Do you feel better now?
No, she
Oh,
doesn't.
fuck
She
she's
wants
doing.
to, like...
Okay.
I'm waiting for her to, like, knock the mic around and shit.
Literally, though. Okay.
Normally it's Squid we have to worry about.
This week it's B. She's like, oh, Squid got all the attention last time. My turn.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the Pepsi Cola Addict is no longer available, but I do have a brief summary.
That's depressing.
And I also have a brief excerpt from Discomania. So we will see how accurate your guesses as to their synopses were.
100% accurate. We both know that it's true.
All right.
Because I'm a literary genius.
The Pepsi Cola Addict is the story of a teenager from Malibu who is seduced by his teacher. He then takes up with a gang, which results in him ending up in jail, where he is met with the unwanted sexual advances of a male guard.
Jesus Christ.
Before returning home and reportedly dying of a drug overdose. So, like, you were kind of close. Nearly there.
Just like one bit away.
So I don't have a synopsis, but I do have a brief excerpt from Discomania, and I wasn't really going to go into any information about either book, and then watching the documentary last night, they shared this excerpt, and I was like, okay, I have to, because what the fuck? There were teenagers all around, jumping on top of each other, pulling anybody to the floor with salacious frenzy. They screamed loudly to the music, pulling out blades and stabbing their best friends to death.
That escalated so quickly.
That is one disco I 100% would panic at.
Literally, though. Fucking Christ.
I panic at every disco, but that one particularly. So
Jesus. I was like, oh yeah, okay, they're dancing, and then you like pulls out a knife, stabs your best friend, and I was like,
I tried so hard to get to the end. I lasted longer than when I was telling Mateo. I got as far as pulling out blades and started giggling, and he's like, "This isn't funny." I'm like, "I know, I can't stop." I at least made it to the word death before I finally burst out with laughter. But yes, so I'm just. There were teenagers all around, jumping on top of each other, pulling anybody to the floor with salacious frenzy. They screamed loudly to the music, pulling out blades and stabbing their best friends to death.
I like how she clarifies that it's their best friends. It's not just their friends. It's not their acquaintances. It's not the random person beside them. It's their best friends that they're stabbing to death.
So, those are their brilliant literary works.
For sure something I want to add to my bookshelf.
I kind of want to read at least Discomania, that's for sure. That sounds like a good read. And I don't read, so... But those stories definitely don't show signs of any form of troubled minds.
No.
No.
Not at all.
Perfectly fine. Not an issue. So anyway, at 18, they decided they weren't even 18 yet when they wrote those books, by the way. Keep that in mind.
Jesus.
We've only just hit 18, and we already have a lot to question. So, that's cool. Love that. Definitely not crazy banana bread.
Cuckoo banana bread.
Cuckoo banana bread.
Yeah,
sure.
Cuckoo banana bread.
Cuckoo crazy pants.
Now I really want banana bread.
So yeah, at 18, they decided they wanted to be a part of the world again and took up an interest in the worst thing you can take up interest in. Boys.
Ugh, sweeties, no. Boys are trash.
Particularly a family of American boys that lived in the area.
Oh,
So-
Americans? God, are they white too?
Well, yes, because they're the only black people in the region.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they had got more black people in the neighborhood since then.
I don't believe so. So, they did what any reasonable, infatuated young woman would do. They tracked down their address and took a taxi there unannounced.
That's rapey as fuck.
They were met with an empty home and an unlocked door, so they decided to let themselves in and make themselves at home, going as far as to familiarize themselves with the house and make themselves a peanut butter sandwich.
What the fuck?
This became a regular habit for them until the boys met them and started spending time with them. The girls were very taken by the boys, but it's quite clear that the boys
It was not
thought
reciprocated?
the boys thought nothing more of them than that they were basically just like stray dogs at their feet begging for attention, more or less, is what I read. That's the analogy that I read. Those are not my words. That's the girls were infatuated with the boys, so they snapped at their heels begging for attention, and the boys just saw them as being there and were like, okay, whatever.
Oh my god.
Sure. They also discovered drugs and alcohol at this time. In fact,
Of course they did.
In fact, the only way that they were able to speak to the boys was while drunk or in some other way intoxicated. So they would spend time with the boys and drink, sniff glue, smoke pot, whatever bloated their scrot at the time. And both twins lost their virginity to the same boy, the youngest of the brothers, who, let's keep in mind, they're 18, he was 14.
Oh my god.
Yep, that.
What the fuck?
Don't love that. They both lost their virginity to him within the space of a fortnight of each other. First, Jennifer, in the church, while June watched.
What the fuck?
Yep, June wrote about it in her diary. She wasn't happy about it. Which is why 13 days later, June lost hers to the same boy in the barn.
Did Jennifer watch?
I'm unsure, but I do know that June exclaimed, "I want your babies," in the middle of it.
That's so disgusting.
Yes.
Ew. Oh my god. Yeah.
Which, I mean, we all say things in the heat of the moment, but that's definitely...
I don't think I will ever say I want your babies in the middle of sex. What the fuck?
Whew. Anyway, shortly after...
Did they know that she was watching? In the church?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It sounds like it, because they were inseparable. So I'm guessing she just, like, sat in the pews and was like, oh,
I'll just wait here while you rail my sister. What the fuck?
This is my kind of service.
Oh, dude, that's so bad.
God's name was definitely being called at that time. Well, assuming he was any good, he was 14 and it was his first time, so probably not. Shortly after this, the boys moved back to America, and the girls took back to their solitude and their journals, expressing deep loathing for one another. Yeah, up until this point, it sounded like they kind of, loved each other and didn't want to be apart, didn't it?
Well,
No, they fucking hated each other. No, they've always fucking hated each other. That's why they were writing to their special ed teacher saying, we want to be separated. So both of them could not stand the concept of not being able to separate their identity from the other. But it also terrified them at the idea of being split up.
Yeah.
So June took to her diary. A love-hate relationship. She thinks I am weak. She knows not how I fear her. This makes me feel more weak. I want to be strong enough to split from her. O Lord, help me. I am in despair. Jennifer to her diary. She should have died at birth.
Fucking Christ. Jesus. She's just like, fuck that bitch, I wish she was dead.
I'm not even done. But yeah, it kind of... That's why I was like, this one needs to go second, because it kind of takes you off guard.
Damn.
Whew. Let me get back to my quote voice. I don't know why I have a specific quote voice, but I've noticed halfway through this episode, I was like, okay, I have a very specific quote voice. She should have died at birth. Cain killed Abel. No twin should forget that.
Oh my god. Please send me these experts so I can send them to my mom.
I'll put my notes on the drive for you.
Thank you.
Just tell her to listen to this episode. Even if she doesn't want to hear your half, tell her listen to Jeramie's half. You might relate to it.
I'll be like, oh.
For the record, Kirstyn's mum is a twin. That's the context.
That's where this joke is coming from.
Soon, their loathing and aggression moved from inwards and towards one another, and instead was aimed at the world, and they took to petty crime. So there was a string of thefts and vandalism and graffiti. They were ringing doorbells and running away. They tried to destroy a phone booth. They then also kept, like, ringing the police and being like, ha, it was us, we committed the crimes, but then running away before the police could get there. And of course, no one's gonna suspect the two silent people.
Yeah, that's fair.
But after a while, this was not enough for them either, so they decided to take it another step further. And were like, hey, let's commit a happy crime. So they started to commit arson in late... We've already established arson's a happy crime.
Okay, Jeramie. Okay.
You will agree with me after you listen to how June documented her thoughts about the fire. Believe me.
Alright.
So they started to commit arson in late October of 1981. An excerpt from June's diary. Dear diary, my nature has turned to crime. I am a labelled thief, but haven't I always been one? All this week, I've been wanting to burn down the tractor store on Snowdrop Lane. I burned it down today, with the help of Jennifer, of course. The greatest moment of my life. Sorry, I saw your reaction. We opened all the cans of petrol and spread it everywhere. Can you believe that I am the arsonist of Haverfordwest? Yes, I am. I am going to burn down the whole damn town. Oh yes, I am. You can bet your heart about it. Firemen were everywhere, running everywhere trying to smash a window to get in. All the while, my lovely, glorious fire was licking its way through the roof, and the thick smoke filled the night sky. I refuse to look at you right now. A picture that will live in my mind forever. Oh, what a sinful, evil, selfish mind. I know the Lord will forgive me. It's been a long, painful, hard year. Don't I deserve to express my distress? Won't it be great to see this in the papers? Can you half tell that they were writers?
Dude, she sounds like she's running a fucking porno.
A porno about fire.
Dude! Oh, yes. The fire licked at... I can't remember what it licked at.
Oh, yes, I am the arsonist, and my lovely, glorious fire was licking its way through my roof.
Does
with a
it not fucking
thick
sound
smoke
sexual?
filling the night sky.
Firemen were all around,
Looking to
trying to
smash
find a way
a
in.
window.
Oh.
I know the Lord will forgive me. Don't I deserve to express my distress?
Also, I like that part rhymed. I'm just going to throw
Yeah.
that in there.
That was one of my favorite parts too.
Express my distress.
The greatest
Express
moment
yourself.
of my life. Like,
I mean,
damn.
maybe get better moments. Just
Maybe.
saying, best.
So clearly that little romp they had with the 14-year-old wasn't that great. If a fire was better. Actually, no. No, I'm not gonna lie. A decent fire, probably better than sex. I do love a good fire. I'm not sure about like an arson fire, but I do love fire. Do you not agree after hearing that arson is a happy crime? Certainly made her happy. Sounds like made her very happy downstairs.
Sounds like it made her a little orgasmic. That's for sure.
On November 8th, a policeman caught them in the act, and they were arrested. The diaries full of stories of theft and fire were found, and the twins were taken to Pucklechurch Remand Centre, where they were held for 7 months to be evaluated and for the judicial system to assess what to do with them. Doctors...
Fair, after reading her erotica about fire, I would be a little bit stumped on how to deal with them as well.
Fair. So, doctors basically had to rig up a special telephone system in the prison because it was the only way that the girls would agree to speak to them, but they also only agreed to, like, some interaction on the telephone with the doctors, but it was still minimal. So, to quote the New Yorker article, when they were together, they wanted to kill each other. When they were apart, they were so lonely, they wanted to die. Then, when they were reunited, they were disappointed and imagined that they had felt stronger alone. So to quote June's diary, we talked to the doctor about life. Jennifer told him about how she hears voices, sees visions, and wants to kill me. Yep.
Chill as fuck.
Just casually. She wants to kill me.
Love that for you.
Yeah. What more do you want in a sister? Just be glad. I told him how sensitive I am, how I picked up people's moods and have dreams and premonitions. He's puzzled at my non-communication with our parents. Haven't spoken sensibly to them since the beginning of my teenage years. I said it was a habit. He wasn't impressed.
Sorry. She's like, oh, it's just a habit. My bad. Haven't spoken to them since I was a teen. It's just a habit not to talk to them, you know. And he's like, really, bitch? Really?
You know, old habits die hard. It's just a...
Oopsies, give me 30 days and I'll crack it, you know. Only do 30 days.
You gotta work at it once a day for 30 days, and then it's a thing. It's fine. He thought we were perfectly capable of talking, but I said I'm too withdrawn. Jennifer is more withdrawn than me. She needs more help. Sorry, I need a second.
She's more of a crackhead than I am, don't worry.
I need a second before this
I
next
only
sentence.
have premonitions. What's the next sentence?
I'm sorry. I'm just not ready for it. And by I'm not ready for it, I mean I know that you're not ready for it, so I'm preparing myself for what's going to come as soon as I say these words. I told him I'd like to kill her. I would strangle her. I told him I'd like to kill her. I would strangle her. She told him how we'd attempted to drown each other in the river.
What the fuck? Just sisterly things.
Just girly things, you know. I said that only one of us should have been born. Life would have been smoother.
Fuck. I'm definitely sending this shit to my mom.
Yeah, she needs to listen to this and be like, oh, okay, I had it okay. Things are fine. I'm sitting there.
She'll be listening to it and she'll be like, not the only one.
I'm reading this to Mateo with his head in my lap, stroking his hair. His eyes are closed. He's dozing off. And every couple of sentences as I'm reading through, his eyes just open and look up at me. I'm like, yep. He's like, oh, okay, I heard that correctly. Cool. Closes his eyes. Next sentence. What? Yep. Yep, you heard that correctly.
Fuck. We tried to drown each other in the river. We were unsuccessful. Sad face.
I told him I'd like to kill her. I would strangle her. She told him how we'd attempted to drown each other in the river. I said that only one of us should have been born. Life would have been smoother.
I'm just imagining this doctor's face as he's listening to this and being like, what the fuck is wrong with these bitches?
So,
he's
funnily,
like, do I really want to make them talk? Because fuck me. The shit that comes out.
So, funnily enough, it was deemed that they had a psychopathic personality disorder.
Weird. I wonder why.
Would not have picked it. Completely out of left field. Way out of the blue. Would not have picked that. What? You said that you wanted to kill her. You said that you wanted to kill her and that she tried to drown you in a river, but no, that's perfectly sane and normal. Anyway, so it was deemed that they had a psychopathic personality disorder and that they needed treatment. If they could not find a
shocking.
Yes. If they could not find a hospital to take them in, they would be sent to prison. Unfortunately, the only hospital that would take them in was Broadmoor, which is a notorious maximum security hospital for the criminally insane in England. So, in 1982, the twins, keep in mind they were 19. They were juveniles, basically.
19?
19?
Fucking love that ad, and I did that to someone the other day, and they had no idea what I was on about.
Were they a child?
They were younger than me, yes.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so these two 19-year-olds were sentenced to a maximum security hospital for the criminally insane indefinitely.
Damn.
When it had initially been discussed with the doctors at the prison as to whether or not they would be willing to go there, they were told it would be for a couple of years. So they both were like, oh yes, we can do that. Yes. So they got up and they pled guilty. And then the judge turned around and went, cool.
JK.
You will be detained indefinitely. And the girls didn't know what that meant until it was explained to them that meant until the physicians there deemed them fit and well enough to return to society.
So fair and just.
Yes. We'll hear just how fair and just it was in a minute. Anyway, shortly after arriving at Broadmoor, June returned to a catatonic state, and Jennifer attacked a nurse. They had been separated and sent to different wards and were completely denied access to one another. After a while, they were eventually brought back together and did start to talk, but they were still not deemed fit or well enough to be returned to society, and the pair of them were confused as to why. Because supposedly all the doctors wanted was for them to talk, which they were doing. But every year or so, they would meet a board, and the board would be like, no, you need another year or two. And it would just keep happening. You're not well enough to return. You need another year or two. And they were sitting there going, what more do you want from us? We're talking. The issue was that we didn't talk. So, a quote from June is that juvenile delinquents get 2 years in prison. We got 12 years of hell because we didn't speak. And I can guarantee you that the fact that they didn't speak was not the reason that they got 12 years in this maximum security hospital. It was the fact that they were black.
Obviously. Fucking disgusting.
So, yeah. System really fucked them over in that sense. Not that, like, obviously they did some not great things, but there was also clearly a lot of mental issues there too, which obviously they were in the right place. They were in the right place being in a hospital. They shouldn't have been in a maximum security hospital for the criminally insane, though.
Yeah, that seems a little excessive. When all they really did was set some fires. It's not like they went around like murdering and disfiguring people. From what I could find, they set 3, maybe 4 fires max. And was anyone hurt in any of them?
Nope. There was a tennis court and a tractor shop that was closed, and I'm pretty sure the one that they were found trying to light on November 8th was like an abandoned factory or a closed school or something along a building that had no people in it.
So nowhere was
they had committed
harmed.
Nope, they had committed petty crimes and arson. And like, yes, arson is bad, but they purposely did it so that no one would be harmed. Yes, obviously they were prepared to wear the consequences for that, but these consequences are a bit extreme.
Yeah.
So, during their time at Broadmoor, they had actually been building a relationship with a woman named Marjorie Wallace, who at the time was a reporter who had heard their story in 1982 when they were initially arrested and developed a keen interest in the girls' case. After meeting with their parents and discovering their books of writing, I was really confused because every written article or American telling of this story, they mentioned that there were several bean bags full of books. You know, like a bean bag, that thing that you sit on. And I was like,
why the fuck would you measure it like that?
I was like, what a weird way to store books. Then I listened to the NPR interview with Marjorie Wallace and heard her say it. Bitch said bin.
Bin?
Yes.
Beanbags?
So
how do you fuck up beanbags and bins?
So she had said that there were bin bags full of books, which...
bin bags.
Which...
bin bags. Bin bags.
Yes.
Okay,
the Welsh accent, but Americans don't call it a bin, it's a trash can.
Oh, fuck me, Americans.
And all of the articles and retellings that I was listening to or reading were American, so the word bin apparently was foreign to them, and they just went, oh, she's saying beanbag. That makes sense. Okay, whatever. No, she was saying bin bag, as in there were trash bags full of books, which makes far more sense. On what planet do you put books in a beanbag to store them? That's fucking ridiculous. And it can't even be that it was like that I misinterpreted what they were saying, because it was literally written. And then I reached the New Yorker article, which said trash bags. I'm like, thank you. Someone actually fucking gets it. So anyway, She collected all of these bags and she basically just scooped them all into the trunk of her car and took them home to pour over them. And after that, she met with the twins in Puckle and as usual, they were catatonic and silent until she mentioned having read their writing. And suddenly, I saw a flicker in June's eyes. She started to look up, and there was a little twitching of her lips, and with great difficulty, she got out the words, Did you like them? So, the twins opened up to Marjorie very quickly, especially when it came to the topic of their writing. And they swiftly developed a friendship and a bond. And Marjorie was researching them because she eventually came to write the book about the silent twins, which is now the principal source of information that I didn't fucking read because I don't read books. I don't have the time for that or the attention span. No, thank you.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Mateo asked me to read a page and a half of a D&D book last week, and it took me half an hour because I kept getting distracted because there were two different textures on the back of the book, and then he would move past in my peripheral vision, or there would be a sound. My attention span is great.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yes, she was researching them, but they'd also developed a friendship and a bond, and she basically was visiting and spending time with them almost every weekend during their time at Broadmoor. Eventually, the news came that the twins were finally going to be released and transferred to a minimum security clinic in southwest Wales. And shortly before this, Marjorie visited the twins for tea.
Just a spot of tea in the afternoon.
Oh, fancy. So, Marjorie told NPR, and we had quite a jolly conversation to begin with. And then suddenly, in the middle of the conversation, Jennifer said, Marjorie, I'm going to have to die.
What the fuck?
And I sort of laughed. I sort of said, what? Don't be silly. You're 31 years old. You're just about to be freed from Broadmoor. Why are you going to have to die? You're not ill. And she said, because we've decided. At that point, I got very, very frightened because I could see that they meant it. And then they said, we've made a pact. Jennifer has got to die. Because they said the day that they left Broadmoor, the day that they were free from the secure hospital, one of them would have to give up their life to really enable the other one to be free.
Christ.
Yeah. And on March 9th, 1993, the twins were finally released from Broadmoor. And as the bus began its journey, Jennifer rested her head on June's shoulder and said, at long last, we're out, before falling into a deep slumber. Less than 12 hours later, upon arriving at the new clinic, it came to light that Jennifer was not napping on June's shoulder. She was, in fact, dead.
Okay, but did Marjorie not fucking tell anyone what they'd said?
Regardless of if she had told anyone what they said, it was not going to do any good because Jennifer's heart had simply stopped beating.
What?
It had been weakened and stopped due to major swelling around it, an undiagnosed, unidentifiable inflammation. There was no trace of poison in her system, nor was there any clear cause of the inflammation. Her heart had simply stopped beating.
Fuck off.
It was as if she had simply willed for her heart to stop beating and her life to end. To further add to the mystery surrounding her death, something seemed to change within June almost instantly. She suddenly began speaking to people as though she had been doing so her entire life, and within a year was released from the clinic, as she was deemed to be perfectly fit. She appears to have continued to live a normal life ever since. So all of these quotes from June, where I didn't specify it was from her diary, came from her directly to the media. And when I said that I have heard their speech impediment, I am referring to having heard June speak in the BBC documentary.
What the fuck?
When asked about her writing, she has said that she no longer feels the need to write. She can now communicate by speaking, so she hasn't written since.
But they were obsessed with it.
Because they couldn't communicate.
Yeah, but
it was their means.
Didn't she write Disco Mania? Why aren't we gonna get any more sequels? Disco
Mania, thank you. And
Where's
June.
The sequel?
June wrote the Pepsi Cola Addict. June was the published author.
Right. Well, where is the Pepsi Cola Addict sequel?
I don't think we need that sequel. But
I think we do.
You can write it. Go off.
I'll add it to my Mertha fanfic.
Merlin and Arthur fast forward to the future where they discover Pepsi Cola and they bring it back to Arthurian times with them.
Yes!
Pepsi Max, obviously, because that is the
Pepsi
superior
tastes like
cola. Excuse me, Pepsi is better than Coke. I'm a Pepsi boy.
I'm a Pepsi Max girl.
Oh yeah, 100% Pepsi Max, but even if Pepsi
like
Max is
Pepsi.
not available, I will still choose Pepsi over Coke.
No, I'll have Coke.
The only time I'm going to choose Coke is if it's vanilla Coke. But yeah, so there is no explanation as to why Jennifer died or how she died. It seems that she just willed it to be so. And then on top of that, there is obviously a lot of question in regards to the twins' behavior leading up. So, one of the main theories is that it could have been some form of folie à deux, which is a shared psychosis. It's also a Fall Out Boy album. But it also could have something to do with the fact that, as I mentioned, they were 2 of 5 siblings, and from what I've heard, Aubrey, the father, he was a traditionalist, so he was obviously out of the home a lot because he got deployed regularly, but he just left maintaining the household and dealing with the kids up to the wife. That was her job. And she had 5 kids and a whole household to deal with, and if 2 of them had special needs and she was alone in that responsibility at that time, they definitely weren't going to get the care and attention that they needed.
No, of course
It was already evident that, like, any homework the speech therapist sent them home with was not being done at home. Like, so...
No, how can you expect their mum to monitor that when she's got 3 other kids to bath, feed, fucking make sure they're doing the right thing?
And these 2 kids aren't speaking to anyone but themselves. So, like, it tracks that, yeah, okay, there probably was some neglect in the home and they probably fell through the cracks because, like I said, they were identical twins, but they were also middle children. And then added on top of that, they had special needs. So, they're probably going to end up being the least of the concern.
Well, especially if they, like, weren't talking and they were still doing, like, they were still eating.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to have seen that there's similar twin cases where they've also been withdrawn and developed their own language, but then it's been able to be turned around and they've been socialized a lot better. And in that case, they were white twins in California, so they got all the attention that they needed and everything was great. So
Yeah,
I do feel
any issues
like
with money either.
Yeah, I do feel like race definitely played a part into this case as well.
Of course.
But it is. Do you see why Sunshine was so fascinated by it, and why her and Tie-Dye have kept asking me, when are you going to tell us this story again?
Yeah, no.
Because when I told it, it was just when I told it, I was just retelling what I had heard from a podcast. This is me having actually sat and researched it for a while and watching a bunch of shit about it. I'm like, oh damn! So this is like a proper informative telling of the story.
What they look like. What's the documentary called? I might watch it.
It was kind of just tagged in the middle of one of the articles, but I think it was this one.
Is she still alive today?
Yes, she June is 59 years old now. If you Google the Silent Twins, a photo of the two of them will come up. Now, I will send you the link to the documentary. It is 53 minutes long. I will say that it took me probably an hour and a half to watch it, but that's because I kept kind of like bouncing between it and my notes, and also I had to kind of really focus to actually hear what she was saying.
Oh, okay. So, like, don't watch it. If I want to shut my brain off, I need to actually focus to watch it.
But
apparently
as soon as she starts, yes, there is. As soon as she starts speaking, you will understand why it was difficult to understand them and why they stopped talking. Because I did have to really actually stop and listen and process. It's also a recording, like a video recording turned into a YouTube video of a 1997 documentary.
Yeah.
So, like, it's very clear that it's, like, ripped from a videotape. But yeah, I've sent you the link to the documentary. It is quite interesting. It has the excerpts. Alright, so that is the tale of the Silent Twins. I told you it was a doozy.
So random.
There's a lot to unpack in that whole case. But yeah, so that is definitely a mystery that grabbed my fascination and apparently that of my friends as well. I would, however, love to hear what mysteries have grabbed your fascinations that you'd like to hear me cover, or even what crimes you'd like to hear Kirstyn cover. Kirstyn, how can they let us know what they want to hear from us, or even just tell us how great we are and what they think about us?
Okay, so if you want to send us some electronic mail, because that's literally what it's fucking called.
A digital letter, if you will.
You can email us at rfimhpodcast@gmail.com, or you can stalk us on Instagram and or Twitter at rfimhpodcast. And we also now have a Facebook page, which is just called Rent Free in My Head Podcast. If you're struggling to find it and you're friends with us on Facebook, you can just stalk it through that, or just shoot us a message on any of the other social medias or email address.
I'm pretty sure I specifically set it up so that the Facebook URL is RFIMH Podcast anyway. I'm all about consistency.
Look at you go, bestie. Proud of you.
I'm a fucking boss. Don't know what that was.
Also, just on the Silent Twins thing, so apparently there is a Silent Twins production that is in post-production now. And it's got Lolita Wright. No, maybe I'm not saying that. No, Letitia Wright. It's
Letitia?
Oh shit, that's probably it. Yeah, Letitia Wright from Wakanda. I believe she is playing the Silent Sisters. Oh my god, I think there's a trailer. No, there's not. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's coming out 2022, apparently, according to IMDb.
That's this year.
I know.
Ooh.
But there is already a 1994 Silent Twins Without My Shadow documentary.
Yes, that's the one that I sent. Oh, that's the one that I sent you, the BBC one. Okay, yeah, that's the one I sent you. So
there's that, but there is a movie coming hopefully this year.
Oh, exciting.
I know, right? Sorry, I just really quickly wanted to say that because I just saw it in my thing when I was looking it up.
Definitely go and read the New Yorker article. Shit, what was it called? With two we made one? Through two we made one? From two we made one. We two made one. There you go. We two made one. It was a really good read. A lot of information. It was fascinating. I did get a lot of information from there. I mean, obviously, I already knew a fair bit about this case and had heard quite a fair bit about this case. So I had a lot to draw on, but that definitely, really in regards to putting together my notes and finding quotes and knowing that I was using a reliable source, was definitely a wealth of information. I mean, it wasn't my only source, but it was very helpful.
Which is always good. So, we hope that the Silent Twins and Amy/Percy, however you want to remember that girl.
And the two of us who are most definitely anything but silent.
Very, very true. Have taken up some little space in your little brains, or big brains. I don't know the size of your brain. You do you. Apparently my head weighs 5 kilos though.
If you're listening to us, you're definitely big-brained.
Oh, for sure. You would have to be entertained by our epicness. So, we hope we've taken up some space in that big brain of yours. And we're just taking up residence. We're vibing there rent-free because, you love us and you don't mind us squatting there. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
We ain't paying rent.
Man, I can barely afford my own fucking rent. I can't pay rent anywhere else. But Jeramie, It's okay. Just buy a house.
If you can't afford to pay rent, just buy
a house.
If you can't afford to rent a mind, just buy a mind.
Ah.
So we won't be living rent-free in your heads for much longer because we are going to buy your heads.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that won't be expensive or weird.
Display them on our shelves. That's kind of creepy. Never mind.
I'm into skull decoration, I guess.
Yeah, not when the rest of the head is still on it, though.
Oh, no, I'd want it, defleshed.
We do hope that we took up residence in your head that is still attached to your body, that we're not going to buy and put on our shelves. And we're just going to leave it and
a human head skull in my shelf now. Not like an actual human head.
So, we'll talk to you next week. We're just going to leave it at that.
Bye, 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 bye.
Later, skaters.